I would now like to introduce you to Senator Mike McGuire.
Good evening. How the heck is everybody doing? I want to tell you how excited I am to be with each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. I think we need to take a moment to say thank you to Madam Chair. She has been helping lead the way here in Plumas, and I just want to say how grateful I am to her for her leadership, her grit, her grace, and her tenacity. Let's give it up for Faith, everybody. Come on now. Let me hear it loud and proud. I also want to say thank you. Karen, thank you so much to Dabney and Julie for all of your work tonight to be able to make this possible. Over 20 folks, by the way, brought all the goodies, and if you have not seen a cookie spread, you haven't seen what's back there. But I think we need to give them a round of applause as well and say thank you. Very, very grateful. And I am so thrilled to be with each and every one of you today. Thank you so much for taking time. I'm glad the sleep cleared out last night, and we are here together this evening. If it's all right with folks, I would like to just be able to lay out a little bit of a verbal agenda tonight. Is that cool? Yeah. So real quick, what I'd like to be able to do is just tell you a little bit about myself. I promise you I'm not going to take too long. And then we'd like to talk with you about some of the top issues that face in your state. Talk with you about the United States Congress and how we can work together. And then the most important part of tonight, if it's all right, is hearing from each and every one of you. My style is, I stop talking. Most important part is hearing from you. And that's how I work, because I know I have a lot to learn. And I just want to tell you how thrilled and honored I am to be here with each and every one of you tonight. And again, Madam Chair, thank you. We also need to say thank you so much to Quincy Area Indivisible for their work as well. Can we please give them a round of applause and say thank you for standing up for our democracy. I'm just going to be blunt. The reality of the situation that we have here in the United States, candidly, I don't think it's ever been as great. I firmly believe that the country that we've always known is hanging on by a thread. And I also believe that the consequences of this election have never been more important. And how many times have we heard in our life that this is the most important election, right? In our lifetime, everyday times, Jackson, absolutely. I believe it. And we have to get our act together. And be able to push back. Be able to fight back. And I always believe good will win the day. And I also want to tell you, I think the road to flip the House of Representatives, it runs through our own backyard. It runs through all of us right here in Northern California. Now, I currently represent a Senate district that has counties that voted for Donald Trump and counties that voted for Kamala Harris. And what I firmly believe is, number one, there's more that unites us than divides us in this country. And let us not forget that. We may not vote for the same person for president, but there's more that unites us than divides us. I think that if you talk to most folks in Northern California and the North State, they want to send their kid to a good school. Am I right? They want to have a hospital that thrives. They want to have health care. Am I right?
Yeah.
They want to make sure that they have a good job here in rural California. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
I also believe they want to have a more affordable life. And that's something that we can all agree to. And that's something that I firmly believe in, whether it's here in the North State or where I currently represent on the North Coast. But here's what I'll tell you. Flipping this seat, it is not symbolic, it is strategic. Because if we truly believe that we can save health care, if we can push back on the fascism that I believe is starting to take hold in this country, to be able to grow rural jobs here in Northern California, and to be able to have an economy that works for all, not just a wealthy few, we got to win this damn thing. And I don't mean to swear, because my grandma did not like it. And I want to tell you a little bit about my grandma in just a bit. But I'd like to talk quickly about Proposition 50. And look, I know there may be some in this audience here tonight that didn't agree with Prop 50, and I want to hear your opinion. But here's why I firmly believe Prop 50 was important. Because Democrats, in my opinion, need to fight fire with fire. We need to grow a damn spine. And Prop 50 passed by 29 points in the state of California. 29 points. People are scared. And they're angry. And I think that's why we're going to flip this seat. And that's why we're going to save this country. And there's a new district. And the district has 9 counties. It is, of course, Lewis and Sierra, Tehama, and Butte, Glenn, and Lassen. Over in the east. In the west, you got Lake, Mendocino, and Sonoma. 69% of the electorate lives in the west. 69%. I've been in the state senate here for the past 10 years. My last election, I won that seat by 76%. On average, I won over the last 3 years by 74%. And as Madam Chair said, I'm the first rural Democrat to lead the California State Senate in over a century. And I say that because you got to work with everyone. And the power base in this state, it's not in Lake, it's not in Loomis or Sierra, it's in San Francisco and LA. And guess what? To be able to get what we need to get done in California, in the United States of America, you have to build coalitions, you have to build bridges between individuals in one party or another. And that's what I'm all about. And I also believe that you have to work with all sides. Since I've gotten into this race over the last 8 weeks, we've had 21 community coffees and town halls. And by the way, this is not just about a campaign. This is how I work. I want to be able to be accessible. I want to hear from you. And I want to work with you. I want to tell you a little bit about my family, and I'm going to get a little choked up, and I apologize. My mom and dad had a bad divorce. And it was a good thing. My dad was abusive. And my grandma came down. We were living in San Jose at the time. And got myself and my mom out of the house. My dad left for work. She brought us home. My grandma was a hard-nosed pro rancher. You didn't want to mess with her, and I never learned that lesson. She took us in. What I gotta tell you, we would not have made it if it wasn't for my grandma. She was always there for us. My mom struggles with depression, and she taught me 3 things in life that has stuck with me to this day, that I bring to this job in the state senate, and I'd be honored to bring to the House of Representatives to work with each and every one of you. I'm a firm believer that you have to work hard. I'm a firm believer that I have to be the hardest working person in the room. Number 2, you got to work together. The only way to make progress in life stick is by working together. Especially right now. We have to work together, y'all. We have to work together. And the third lesson, you never give up. And especially when times are tough, you never give up. And I'll be the first to say, times are tough right now. But these 3 lessons have never failed me. I don't come from a family with any money. I definitely don't have a name. But that's how I've been able to be elected, to build a coalition, to lead the California State Senate. And here's what I believe. I think we got to grow rural jobs. One of the reasons why Donald Trump is president today is because Democrats have forgotten about rural America and rural California. We have to focus on where the need is greatest, and that's in rural parts of this country. Grow rural jobs. We have to expand health care. And I'll say it, I believe that we need Medicare for all, once and for all, here in the United States of America. We hope to be able to save the health care system. our rural hospitals open and they're hanging on by a thread. And let me just be very candid with you. This big, beautiful bill, don't take my word for it. The fiscal cliff for rural hospitals and health centers in this state comes mid-2027. We will see a couple dozen rural hospitals and health centers close because Republicans and Donald Trump have literally taken health care away. We built an entire system over the last 20 years on Medicaid expansion, and they're taking it away. It's time to fight. We can change this. It doesn't have to be this way. We need to modernize our rural schools, and we have to make our communities more wildfire safe. Now look, I know that a Democrat sometimes could be a dirty word in some houses around here, but I want to tell you what I believe. I'll fight for you no matter who you vote for president. It's about working together. But I also believe that Democrats need to grow a damn spine. Democrats need to grow a damn spine. They need to be able to show up and deliver for everyday Americans. When Democrats fight for working families, we win. But I firmly believe that Democrats have forgotten about who we work for in this country. It's not for the wealthy. It's not for corporations. We work for you, and we can't forget that. And I also believe that we have to call out when wrong takes place in this country. We got to call out Donald Trump. Look, what's happening right now across this country, and I want to talk about ICE in just a moment. It's immoral not to speak out. This is not who we are as Americans. I firmly believe that we have to fight the corruption. We have to fight the chaos. We have to fight the cruelty. And here's what I believe. I believe that we have to stand up for women, reproductive freedom. We have to stand up for immigrants.
Yeah.
We have to stand up for the Constitution. Are you with me? Lewis County, let me hear you. Let's go. So here's the deal. When Democrats work for working families and they deliver, here's what we can accomplish. What we've accomplished here in California, 92% of all Californians have health care. One of the highest penetration rates in the United States of America. And the reason we have that is the Affordable Care Act. Medicaid expansion, 92%. What I also believe is that every woman should have a right to a safe abortion, reproductive health care, and contraception. And thanks to California voters who passed the proposition, it is now forever enshrined in our Constitution, and we need to codify Roe v. Wade at the federal level, and I hope that you're with me. Democrats have provided 500,000 new child care slots for kids all across this state. We've adopted universal transitional kindergarten, which is the most important part of a child's learning. I have a 4.5-year-old at home. He is amazing. He's also healthy. And his name is Connor. And the best thing that has ever happened to Erica and I, we struggled getting pregnant 3.5 years. And the best thing that has ever happened to us is Connor. We call him Corn Dog. The nurse, when he first came out, said he looks like a corn dog. That's a long story. I'm not going to go there. Worried me. But look, he's in TK right now. And it's the best thing to be able to get kids centered on education. We have universal school meals now in every public school, free breakfast and free lunch. And you know why that's important? Because we have the highest minimum wage in the United States of America. $25 minimum wage for healthcare workers, $20 for fast food workers. And why that's important? 2/3 of fast food workers, 2/3 of healthcare workers in this state are women and women of color. My mom worked for 21 years for a local bank. She was a bank teller. Her retirement is less than $900 a month. And I bring that up as it's personal for me. We have to pay women what they're worth, and that is why we have passed the strongest equal pay law in the United States of America right here in California. We've grown our economy, absolutely, we've grown our economy by 80%. We cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 20%. I can keep going on, like say 54% of all community college students now go tuition free. Half of all CSU and UC students now go tuition free. But we have to focus on the federal level. We talk about some federal issues. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it, everybody. So here's the deal. Besides Donald Trump, I think one of the greatest threats to our democracy is income inequality. The minimum wage for the federal government has been $7.25 for 20 years. 20 years. $7.25. 20 states in the United States of America still have federal minimum wage. So here's what you're damn right. Here's what I believe. Number one, I think we need to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. We've already done that here in California. California, it's over $16 an hour. I think we need to repeal the millionaire and billionaire tax cuts that Donald Trump has advanced. That's $2.2 trillion.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go? We need to fully fund Social Security. It is retirement security, especially for women in this country. We need to have tuition-free community college for every student here in the United States of America. Let me tell you about that. If you want to go to a trade school to be able to learn a career skill, or you want to transfer to a four-year university, you go to community college. 60% of all transfers into CSU or UC in California start at community college. Took me a little longer, took me 3 years to pass statistics in community college. Boy, it was a long time. But guess what? I went on the Pell Grant. And Donald Trump wants to cut the Pell Grant. It's the greatest scholarship that we have in this country. I also firmly believe that the richest among us need to pay more in taxes. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So what does that mean? California has one of the most progressive tax structures in the United States of America. The more you make, the more you earn. You're earning less than $35,000 a year, probably not paying taxes, you're paying a minimum amount. If you're making less than $35,000 in Texas, you're paying per capita very similar to what a millionaire is paying in California. It's regressive. Here in California, 1.4% of the population pays 50% of the taxes. The wealthiest among us. If we adopted that same progressive tax policy at the federal level, it would generate $5 trillion. And we invest it in people, in growing rural economies. People always say, well, how the heck will you pay for Medicare for all? You know how we pay for Medicare for all? Millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share, $5 trillion. If we repeal the $2.2 trillion in tax cuts that Donald Trump gave, the largest tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires in the history of this nation, and then tax them at the same tax rate as California, we will generate $7.8 trillion to pay for Medicare for all, to pay for tuition-free community college, to pay for additional federal child care slots, to be able to fully fund PILT, to be able to fully fund rural schools across this country. Are you ready to go, Quincy? We got to do it, and we're going to. And look, as I said, we got to codify Roe v. Wade. We have to pass the Green New Deal, and we have to invest in the Forest Service budget that I'd like to talk about in a moment. But can we talk about ICE for a quick second? I'm gonna try to do this without getting blubbered. I was talking on the Senate floor yesterday about Liam Cornejo Ramos. Like so many in this country, I have been appalled. But I'm especially appalled as dad. Liam was a 5-year-old. Same age as my son, Connor. And ICE agents kidnapped him. They brought him to his house, still with a Spider-Man backpack on. Sent him up to his parents' store. His dad was undocumented. Dad wouldn't open up the door. In this country, you don't have to open up the door without a warrant. At least until Donald Trump took office. To lure his dad out of the house, not the America that we fight for. This is the America that we have to fight against. We have to fight against fascism in this country. Millions watching the horror as ICE agents killed Alex Petty. 2 weeks ago, we saw a gold shot in the head. There are thousands of kids across the state, tens of thousands across this nation that are not going to school because they're scared they may be deported, or their parents are scared that bringing them to school they'll be deported. My wife is an elementary school principal. For the first time since she's been in public education, they're having to come up with a plan if a parent is deported. Parents aren't going to work, not sending their kids to doctors. They're afraid not because they are criminals, but because of the color of their skin. Again, this is not the America we've all fought for. And I want to tell you, now is the time to speak up. I am a firm believer that we are complicit if we do not speak up and fight back. I'm going to say it again. It is immoral if we're not speaking up in this time in our nation's history and pushing back. That's why we passed Senate Bill 747 yesterday. Senate Bill 747, the No Kings Act. What does that do? If a federal agent violates a Californian's constitutional rights, they can be brought to court and tried. And that individual can have their day in court. And by the way, that's the same protocol for any local or state law enforcement here in California. It's equal protection. And California has to lead the way. But I also believe we can't stop there. I think that we need to stop ICE from entering homes without a damn warrant. Yeah. Right? You don't think they're coming for you now, they will. Donald Trump will turn on you. We all see that. I'd be worried if I was Christy Noem right now. They're targeting citizens because of the color of their skin. We need a use of force policy with teeth for all federal agents, just like we have here in California. Here in California, you have to wear a body camera. It's good for people, it's good for the officer, and that should be federal law. And I gotta be honest, Christy Noem should be impeached. Yeah. She should be impeached tomorrow. Greg Levino should be fired, and by the way, he's a California resident. El Centro, he runs the El Centro Border Patrol office. We are going to launch a petition tomorrow because he doesn't like his home state, and we will probably get him a U-Haul. But I want to end it right here with this. I get it. The level of hate that I've had since yesterday, death threats, since we passed this bill. But let me just say this. You got to stick together. I think we're going to win this thing. I think that we are going to flip the House, and we are going to put a check on Donald Trump. We are going to stand up for working families in this country. We're going to stand up for the rule of law, for the Constitution. Are you ready to go, Quincy? We're going to do this, everybody. But we got to deliver. And like I said earlier, I'd like to talk about the Forest Service. Can we talk about the Forest Service for a moment? So look, next week we're going to launch our prosperity plan for rural counties. And that is focused on making sure that the federal government is a willing dance partner for rural America. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this. So can we talk about rural schools for a moment? I'm grateful that Congress just passed the Rural Schools Act, right? Yeah. An extension. Here's the piece that is the problem with this. For 20 years, this has been a 1 or 2 year extension for 20 damn years. We need to make it permanent. We have to make it permanent here in the United States of America. Just like we make school funding permanent here in California. It's called Prop 98. California voters passed it. We have a guaranteed funding formula that goes for TK through community college. Yes, we can't pass a proposition at the federal level, but Congress can act on it. And we also know that rural schools funding goes to help law enforcement. It also helps to go invest in infrastructure. And we also know here in Plumas, nearly 2/3 of the entire land mass in the entire county is run or managed or owned by the federal government. And they need to be a willing dance partner. PILT. Can we talk about PILT for a second? We need a modernized PILT. It's pennies on the dollar that goes to rural counties when it comes to PILT. So number one, I think we need to create a new benchmark, a new minimum standard for PILT. Every year, we look at a cost of living standard that it goes in automatically throughout this nation. Number two, for high fire threat counties, we also need an added dollar figure for fire mitigation, especially for counties like Plumas. It is absolutely unacceptable, small amount of dollars that we're receiving each and every year in rural California. We talk about the Forest Service for a moment. Is that all right? So here's
What is PILT?
What's that?
What is PILT?
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Payment in lieu, I apologize. Payment in lieu of taxes. So if you have federal property, so for example, 65% of the land mass in Plumas County is owned or managed by the federal government. No taxes come from that land. So I'm just going to make this number up. This is not a real number. Let's just say that off of those tens of thousands of acres, Plumas would make $3 million off of taxes if it was actually on the tax rolls. The federal government comes in and gives $1 million to $1.5 million a year. Those are not real numbers. It is pennies on the dollar, but they do provide dollars back to rural counties that have significant number of federal land. And so that then goes for like infrastructure projects, road projects throughout the county. It gives rural counties some dollars. And the problem that we have is that the dollar figure is too low. And so what we'd like to be able to see in our rural county prosperity plan is that we create a new benchmark across the country that rural counties would be guaranteed. Then we put an automatic cost of living percentage to it so that every year rural counties know that it's going to go up. Some years it will go higher than others. But that's what we need to focus on. And just being honest about it, if Plumas was collecting the tax rolls, they'd receive much more funding than what they do from the federal government. Thank you for the question. I apologize that I did not explain it. Forest Service. I think we need to split the Forest Service up. What I mean by that is, over the last 30 years, the fire suppression side of the Forest Service has been dominating their budget. And in fact, it's gobbling up all their other responsibilities. If you take a look at the West and our fire suppression, it is an enormous amount of money. And under Republican and Democratic administrations, the Forest Service budget simply is not kept up. So I think we should do what we did in California. You have CAL FIRE, you have a wildfire division and a forestry division, right? We need to be able to separate the two divisions. So what do we need to do on that? Number one, we need to be able to put more money into fire suppression, bottom line. It is simply not keeping pace. Number two, the other piece where I think we need to go is we need to stop managing wildfire through the Forest Service. We have to go into a direct fight. CAL FIRE has a goal of putting out 90% of all fires 10 acres or less. 90%. And they're pretty damn successful at it. But just being honest, the Forest Service, it is an antiquated model. As you all know, there's a large, if there's a large fire down the river, you may have a team from Alaska coming in, then a team from Montana that transitions in every 39 days. It doesn't work. And under the climate crisis and climate change, you're not going to be able to manage these mega fires anymore. You have to go to direct attack. And if it's cheaper for the federal government to be able to contract with a state like CAL FIRE, so be it. And by the way, that has been my personal mission. In the communities that I represent, years, and we've lost over 10,000 homes over the last 10 years of wildfire. It's been devastating. And shame on us if we're not doing something about it. Here in the state, we've doubled the number of CAL FIRE firefighters over the last 9 years. Doubled. We will hire another 2,500 in the next 36 months. We've gone from 6,900 CAL FIRE firefighters to 13,000 today. We're going to go to 15,500 in the next 36 to 48 months. We've doubled our air attack fleet. We just secured 7 C-130s from the Coast Guard, used planes, news to us, and they're now going to be fighting fire all throughout the state. Our entire Vietnam-era Black Hawk helicopter team has been transitioned to night fighting Black Hawk helicopters. The federal government needs to get their act together and start doing direct attacks with wildfire. That is going to need significant investment. But guess what? All of this timber, all of our communities, our tax base continues to be burned up every damn year. We have to get with the times. And that's why we need someone fighting to make sure that we are getting enhanced funding for fire suppression. I also am a firm believer in fire prevention. And the Forest Service has not been keeping up. And I'm just going to be blunt about it. It takes a president and Congress to be able to allocate fire prevention dollars. So here in California, we have $8 billion available for fire prevention. About $3 billion over the last 3 years, $5 billion over the next 4 years. Would love to work with you to see and how we can get Plumas County taking up some of these dollars. We put $1 billion of that into federal lands. Our state dollars. Because the federal government won't act. And the only way that we're going to solve this crisis is working upstream, doing fire prevention. Yes, we need to be able to get our fire response modernized, but am I right? You have to do fire prevention. Then dying tree removal, brush removal, fire breaks. And you have to get it done 5 years after a fire or it's going to start all over again. So that's the other big piece, that we need additional funding towards fire prevention. There was $500 million for the West Coast states, west of the Rockies. About $253 million was spent. Donald Trump straight back the rest, and that was never deployed. The other items I'd like to talk about is staffing. The Forest Service is understaffed in good times, and now it's really bad. And projects that we all want to be able to do is held up for years. We need to get additional staffing, especially within the last year. It is simply not working. The last piece I'd like to be able to talk about are rural set-asides. Counties like Sierra, Plumas, and Tehama are getting their butt kicked when it comes to federal grants because we don't have grant writers or the expertise to be able to get additional dollars competing against larger counties. What we've done in California is we do specific set-asides for rural counties and small communities. So you're competing against another county that has 20 to 40,000 and not competing against a county that has 500,000 to 1 million folks. It doesn't work. And we need additional set-asides for rural counties through the Forest Service as well. So that is part of our prosperity plan that we need to focus on and modernizing the United States Forest Service. And I could talk to all in the face on this, but I want to hear it from each of you. I want to end it right here because I've gone on way too long. I just want to... I want to say thank you. We are in some tough times. We're going to do it. We're going to get through this. And I'm a firm believer, I'm a fourth generation California. There is nowhere else where I would rather live right now in California. When Donald Trump attacked our state, we fought back. When he came after voting rights, we fought back and won. When he came after rule of law in the state, we fought back and won. When he attacked our immigrant community, contributes $6 billion a year, by the way, in taxes, 50% of the Central Valley workforce of farm workers, 50% are undocumented. Attacked the immigrant community, we fought back. We came after our environmental laws, we fought back. 6 times he's come after Prop 50. All 6 times he's lost in court. He's taken it to the Supreme Court. Mark my word, we're going to win a 7th and final time, and we're going to flip the damn house, everybody. So look, we're winning two-thirds of the time now in federal court. The clear line that I have is this: democracy is not negotiable. Am I right? In flipping the first congressional district, I'll say it again, it's not symbolic, it's strategic. If you care about health care, if you care about protecting workers, if you care about reproductive freedom, if you care about keeping rural hospitals open, you care about modernizing our schools, restoring staff and putting food back on the table for the most hungry in this state, you care about our democracy, we're going to flip the first. This is our time. I'm a big believer that this is our time. This is our time to rise up, to push back. And I also don't believe in agonizing anymore. I've been agonizing, oh my gosh, if I had pearls on, I'd be clutching them. It's not about agonizing anymore, it's about organizing. We got to organize. We got to organize. We got to take the country back. I love this country. I love it. And America is always worth fighting for, especially now. I'd be honored to work with you in the United States Congress. And I promise you this, and I am a big believer of under-promising and over-delivering. But I'm going to promise you this. No one will work harder. This is going to be the first of many times. Are we always going to agree? No. But I don't believe in gimmicks. I don't like drama. I'm going to swear and I apologize. I don't like bullshit. You know what I like? I like delivering. I like delivering for rural communities, for people. And together, we can do anything. And I'd be honored to have your support. I'm going to open up to each and every one of you. Are you ready to win Plumas County? I said, are you ready to win, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to win? Let's go! Thank you so much for allowing me here. Madam Chair, I'm going to open it up. We're going to have some good conversation. So please, feel free to stand on up and look forward to having the questions. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms. How you doing, sir? Right over there. Take it away.
In the U.S., in terms of the lobbying, there's a lot of money that comes in. Over 50%, this is according to the Jerusalem Post, over 50% of donations in the U.S. are from U.S. Jewish people. And that has an incredible amount of pressure on our politicians and lobbying from AIPAC and places like that. What we've seen since the war in Gaza started is $34 billion has been given to Israel. And that money is not being here spent on our healthcare, spent on our hospitals. Yes, I understand you deny that genocide took place or is taking place in Israel. But maybe you didn't see Gaza. Maybe you didn't see the starvation. Maybe you didn't see the blocking of the humanitarian trucks. Maybe you didn't see the millions of tons of explosives they rained down in Gaza, killing tens of thousands of people. So my question to you is, do you support giving more money to Israel, unlimited funds pretty much, to do further genocide, or do you refuse to take money from AIPAC, or do you refuse to give any more money to Israel so that we can spend it on the things that you say are important, like healthcare and health?
Thank you. I have not heard that statistic, but what I've seen in regards to what I've seen for giving is corporate America by far the largest giver to politics in this country through dark money. I'm going to get straight to the question. I really appreciate the question. Thank you for the opportunity. And the reason why I say that is, look, I'm the first to say I think we need to overturn Citizens United. The only way that we're going to overturn Citizens United is to put term limits on the United States Supreme Court. We need to modernize the United States Supreme Court. I also firmly believe in public financing of campaigns. And so that I do think corporate donating is by far the largest in First of all, I have not taken any money from APAC. I won't take any money from APAC. So, question number one. So let's talk about what we're seeing on the ground. As a dad, and again, I don't mean to get emotional, but I've been horrified at the images that we see over the past 27 months. And I think it is, if you have kids, it's really hard when you see that suffering. And I think about my own family's and conditions. So let's talk about what I think Congress needs to do to be able to end the violence and the war that we're seeing. Number one, we need to hold the government of Benjamin Netanyahu accountable. How do we do that? We advance the Block the Bombs Act in Congress. Block the Bombs Act ties aid, defensive aid to Israel to humanitarian activities. As long as that current war continues to go, offensive weapons would not be sold to Israel. And Democrats need to get on board with the Block the Bombs Act. And just being very blunt about it, sir, the only way that I think that Netanyahu is going to give in is by pressure. And the only way to put pressure on him is through legislation. But I'll also be blunt. I don't think anything's going to change unless Donald Trump has a check on him. Donald Trump's not going to put a check on Netanyahu. Democrats will. And we need to advance the Block the Bombs Act. I also believe that U.S. policy needs to get back to what it's always stood for. U.S. policy has been about reducing, opening up humanitarian corridors, rebuilding civilian developments, focusing on rebuilding hospitals first, rebuilding neighborhoods, and opening up all medical corridors. That's what I believe. And the only way to be able to get there, ultimately, is a diplomatic solution. Please push back if I'm mistaken. That's what's going to be lasting peace. And the way you bring Netanyahu to the table is through pressure. You advance the Block the Bombs Act. That's the pressure we need to be able to get him to the table for a diplomatic long-term solution. That's what I firmly believe. So thank you so much. Thank you. Next question. Judy, please.
As a retired elementary school teacher here in Lewis County for 30 years,
Thank you.
and a grandmother of young children, my greatest fear is school shootings.
Yeah.
And I just weep whenever I read about them. So my question is, what's your gun control policy, and how would you implement gun control federally?
Yeah, thank you. I have a rating from Brady Campaign, Moms Man Action, work very closely with. So my policy is California has adopted under my tenure in the last 10 years the most aggressive common sense gun legislation in the United States of America. We've defended the vast majority of it. We did just lose in court at the Ninth Circuit on the banana clip law that had the multi-rounds within one clip. The Ninth Circuit did overturn that here about a month and a half ago on implementation that we passed about 2-3 years ago. We have the most aggressive assault weapons ban in the state of California compared to any other state in the union. In fact, gun murder deaths over the last 40 years is down by 50%. Gun deaths overall, year to year, is down in California. I would go to the map on common sense gun legislation, and I'll just be really blunt. If we don't have uniform common sense gun legislation in all 50 states, it doesn't work. An individual can go to another state and bring in weapons from that state. And I don't believe that any individual in our country needs a weapon of war and an automatic weapon at their home. We're not talking about the Second Amendment. I do understand, though, that my understanding is that our Constitution is now anti-Second Amendment, but we won't go there. I think everyone should be able to hunt. No one's going to take away Second Amendment rights, but I also believe we do not need automatic weapons. My wife is an elementary school principal. seeing horrible, tragic deaths in this state of gun violence. And it needs to stop. So you will have me really standing strong with Moms Demand Action, Ready Campaign, the Giffords Campaign, to be able to push back. But I'll also, in it right here, I'm really nervous about the Supreme Court. So some may think this is radical, but I do believe democracies need to change and need to evolve. And a lifetime appointment to the bench like that, we need to modernize. And I don't think there should be lifetime appointments to the United States Supreme Court. And so that is, if we want to get rid of Citizens United, and we want common sense gun legislation that's going to save literally hundreds of thousands of lives, then we have to focus on the Supreme Court. And I'll give you the last word, please. Any feedback? I'll give you the last word. Yes. Okay.
Right on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Good evening, sir. It's nice to see you.
Yeah. I'm a lifelong resident here. I'm in the timber industry. I haul logs. I own my own truck.
Yes, sir.
Been doing it come 39 years on my own. Been driving trucks for 47. I grew up here when the woods were green, lush. I could catch fish with my hand in the little tributaries. Everything's all gone now. 1995, went to a big meeting in the Reading Civic Center. We had 12 congressmen, Republican, Democrat, talking about the timber salvage and the spotted owl and all that. And went through 12 hours of listening to testimony, which for most of it you only need a chest waiter to get pretty thick. And we changed the operation of the forest under the Clinton administration. There was a representative of the district giving the congressman the, operation plan. And it was taken out of their hand, and the Clinton gave them the new protocol. Since then, the timber has gone downhill, thick, just destroyed. Because I've been in it all my life. And the Dixie fire and all the other fires, the loggers used to put them out, the mill workers. We never had 100,000 million acres, maybe 5,000, 6,000. So that disappeared. We can't fight them anymore or go to jail. And 85% of Plymouth County is burned up. And that's all timber. And it's rotting. Now we're facing massive fires. The brush is coming up, the trees are falling down, and we need to clean it up. Yes, we need the money to do it, but we don't need to support Ukraine, all these other places, because that's where all our money went. It's not coming back into the community. We cannot produce wealth. And on top of that, the Forest Service used to have to sell timber to get paid for their operation. That was taken away and put into the general fund. That's why everything's gone downhill. So this is something you're going to have to deal with. And if you want to work with somebody, I belong to the Associated California Loggers, talk to Eric Carlson. He's the head lobbyist there, and he's been fighting to get this money for all this stuff. So check with him. So,
I tell you, sir, if it's all right with you, I'd love to get your contact information. Mercedes is going to give you a card as well. I'd love to sit down with you and have a conversation.
well, there's a lot of things you could talk about. I can tell you.
I know, I appreciate it. Look, I'm very well aware, whether it's here in Quincy or in Weaverville, when you have a healthy timber industry, you also have a healthy economy. Right? Mill is really important as well. And then all the jobs when it comes to Holland. I also think that we need to advance a biomass plan here in California as well. And part of that is you're going to need to be close to where all that salvage logging is going to be able to get the feedstock to the plant. And I do think that that is going to be really critical long-term for jobs and candidly our long-term reliance on green energy. Go ahead, sir.
Well, we got a power plant that's going to become operational in Westwood, but it's dealing with all the bureaucracy. And I don't know the specifics on it. I know one of the people that invested in it, but it's almost too late for that even. The wood is getting pretty rotten, funky. And, I lost train of thought. But,
What I'll say is, when we talk to the United States Forest Service, they believe, at least within this multi-county area here in the North State, there is a couple, 3 decades worth of fuel feedstock for biomass plants.
well, we've been thinning
Yeah.
wildfire. And something else is really bugging me.
Yes, sir.
Is leaving big old growth that's dead or dying and leave it because you want to save it. Well, you can't save something that's dead or dying. And one job I was on this summer, there was white fir, big white fir dead all over the place. And we couldn't take it. It was outside the boundaries. And then something else on the dying of timber and the hot fires, been alleged that these chemtrails, if you know anything about it, is dropping aluminum oxide, numerous other things, that the plants absorb it. When they catch on fire, they explode. They get really hot. Something you need to look into.
Yeah, I've looked at chemtrails. I'll be honest, sir. I don't, I'm just speaking my opinion on that. I think for me, the reason why we're seeing such explosive wildfires is number one, we have bark beetle and drought, and we've seen record die-off of conifer across the Sierra and then the foothills.
Well,
And so just real quick, sir, and we are not moving fast enough to be able to take that timber out, to be able to make communities more fire safe, or just being honest, help manage our forest. I think that's the main reason on why we're seeing this record die-off, and it's deeply concerning. But here's what I'd like to be able to do, sir, is Mercedes will give you a card. I'd love to talk with you, and you will hear from me, and Mercedes will give you a card right now, and I'm really, really grateful. Okay, that's great. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
It's nice to see you.
I'm gonna try to make this quick since we're running
No,
out of
you're
time.
great. Don't need to make it quick.
Affordable housing in California and Northern California
Yeah.
is a really big issue, especially for young adults and college students in Quincy and all over Northern California. A lot of young adults in NorCal end up homeless or couch hopping because they can't
doubled the renter's tax credit this past year. So if you are raising, whether it's apartment, condo, or room, you should be applying to the renter's tax credit. It's not huge, about $350 back, number one. Number two, on housing, where the state really can control is on permitting and improvement. So this past year, any housing development, infill, 20 acres or less, can be done by right. Doesn't have to go through like planning commission or supervisors or patrol, it would be to the city council. It can be done by right. We think that's going to take 3 to 5 years off of the approval process for the average development. 3, on the federal level, I think that we need to focus on a federal renters tax credit. I'm going to be very blunt here. HUD, which oversees housing, has been hollowed out by the Trump administration. And in fact, what we're seeing right now is the HUD secretary, we all saw an announcement last week, taking back grants for HUD Dash vouchers for veterans and HUD vouchers for those who would qualify. We need to triple the number of HUD vouchers that are available in communities.
Yeah.
He's scraping them back. And so, 1, the federal renter's tax credit, and 2, tripling the HUD voucher program. And if you are living in Quincy, if you're making 40,000 or less, approximately, you would most likely qualify for a voucher. I don't think you do the last word, please.
What are your opinions on a statewide or federal-wide rent cap?
Yeah, California's adopted a rent cap of no more than 10%, but it's typically less based off of the CPI, the cost performance index, and the cost of living adjustment. So long story short, it could be up to 10%. I think last year, don't quote me on this, it was approximately 7% that folks could raise rent up to. I also know that's big. Prior to this cap, statewide, it was unlimited. So an individual could raise rent by 30%. But we have adopted a statewide rent cap of no more than 10%. And again, it's typically less based off of COLA and CPI. And I'd be happy to talk with you about it, because that's something that we've heard from renters across the state, in big cities, in small communities, is what can we do for renters? And that's one of the biggest issues that we've had. And I'll also be really candid, that was a huge fight to get implemented. It has been law of the land now in California for 5 years now. It was during COVID, during the pandemic when we first implemented it. At the federal level, I don't know if, and not at all trying to be partisan, but I'm just being truthful, I don't know if the U.S. Senate does not flip and it's still under Republican control, I don't see that passing federally on that. I'll give you last word, please, and I'd love to talk with you. Don't meet tonight. Is that okay? If we can talk right after?
Yeah.
Would you be cool with that?
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, I am so appreciative that you would ask a question. Thank you so much. I'm really, really grateful. Please. Mr. Jackson.
Who are you running against?
The question is, who am I running against? It's hot deal. So let's talk about it. There are a couple of Democrats and there's going to be a Republican. So first and foremost, the Republican. He hasn't formally announced it, but I think it's going to be James Gallagher. James Gallagher is running in the special to be able to fill Doug LaMalta's seat. So let's just talk about how that's going to work. So you're going to have 2 elections and 1 in June. You're going to have the special to be able to fill the remaining term of Congressman Doug LaMalta.
But he's not on our.
That's right, you're under Kyle. And so, yeah, see, there we go. You won't see that. The majority of the eastern counties will see this special election. You will not. In June, you will have what we're going to call the top 50 new District 1 election. So James Gallagher hasn't announced formally that he's going to run for that election. I'll give you my own editorial. He hasn't told me this. I think is going to run.
That's just the primary.
That's just a primary. But let's talk, and then there's 2 Democrats that are also in this race. Let's talk about just the raw numbers of the district. So the raw numbers of the district are 69%. This goes from a plus 24, the first congressional district goes from a plus 24 Donald Trump district to a plus 12 Kamala Harris district. It goes from ruby red, red alarm, to a beautiful blue. So, look, I'm going to give you my blunt assessment, and you all can tell me if you think I'm full of it. I think, for the first time in over a half century, we're going to have a Democrat representing the North State and the first congressional district. And we are going to be here week after week after week, wanting to be able to work with you. 69% of the Democrats live in the West, in Lake Mendocino and Sonoma. The remaining third lived in the 6 eastern counties. In the West of one, as you all heard, by 76%, this last election, on average, 74%. My belief is that you show up where the need is greatest. I'm showing up in Sierra, and Plumas, and Lassen, and Dehamer, and Butte, and in Glen. This is literally the 21st community meeting in town hall in the last 8 weeks. And out of those 21, 17 have been in the 6 eastern counties. Because that's what you deserve. It's about showing up and delivering, am I right? And here's the deal. What I don't understand is I don't understand how a Republican can show up in this community who wants to take away health care, a woman's right to choose, take food off the table of the hungriest, and advance tariffs that have wrecked the #1 agricultural economy in the United States of America, and that's the state of California. We are going to win this thing, but it's going to take a lot of organizing. It's going to have to take a lot of going door to door, and I'd be grateful to work with you on that. Mr. Jackson, I want to make sure that I answered your question.
You did.
All right, I did. And I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you for all your work, sir. Hi, good evening, nice to see you. Oh my gosh, this is great. I'm here. I'm here as long as you want to be here. I will be here till midnight if you like, and that, I know you all are going to leave before we come. Please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about homeowners insurance. Do you know
Yes,
many of us living in this high fire risk area
Yes,
are either getting our insurance dropped altogether or it's becoming prohibitively expensive? What are your ideas of solutions?
Thank you. Y'all heard the question? Homeowners insurance, what the hell are you doing about it? Am I right? She said, all right, there we go. I'm taking a little bit of liberty. So let's talk about it. Can you everybody hear me without the mic? Is that okay?
All gray hair.
All right. All right. Here we go. All right.
There you go.
So here's the deal. It has always been this like sleeping crisis, and it's been hitting our communities really hard. But after the Palisades and Meat and Pie, the rest of the state has woken up. And the reason being is the Palisades fire, there's 2 worst case scenarios. It's in Mammoth and in the Palisades. Those are the nightmare scenarios when it comes to the fair plan. And it hit Palisades, 48% higher homeowners, 40% increase year to year right before the Palisades fire hit to the fair plan because there's so many non-renewals there. The reason why I bring that up is it is something that we've been dealing with for a decade. And candidly, it is pricing folks out. In a community that I work in a lot, in Ukiah, the Western Hills of Ukiah, it's between $14,000 and $22,000 a year to be able to get homeowners insurance. That's with the fair plan and a rider. Where I live, I can no longer get, I'm State Farm. State Farm won't write. I had to go out. We have a barn on our property. That barn is more expensive than because no one would insure it. It has become an affordability crisis. So what the heck are we going to do? I'd like to talk about what I don't think we should do, and then versus what we can do. I don't mean to pick on Florida or Ron DeSantis, but I want to just talk about Florida. All right, here we go. So Florida has a massive insurance crisis. It's actually worse in California because of hurricanes. And they literally rolled out the red carpet for insurance. So what have they done? They have the highest residential homeowners insurance rates in the nation. They advanced tort reform, made it incredibly difficult for a homeowner to sue their insurance company if they lose their insurance. And then 3, they advanced this reinsurance program where you have to go buy the secondary market that's incredibly expensive. Even after they rolled out the red carpet and have the highest insurance rates in the nation, 17 insurance companies packed up and left. Let's go to California. On their version of the FAIR Plan, for half the population, they have double the number of folks on their version of the FAIR Plan. Here in California, there's 4 major initiatives that need to be adopted. Few have already been, that need to be finished. So number 1, there is a deal that was struck by the insurance commissioner that said if you raise rates, you have to migrate 85% of folks on the FAIR Plan off within 48 months. We're 2 years into the 4, and a small percentage of folks have been migrated back to traditional insurance. I will tell you, people are pissed, and they want the Department of Insurance to act. You're going to see action this year of enhanced numbers of folks who are on the FAIR Plan going back into traditional, cheaper homeowners insurance. Number 1. Number 2. We all have these now, and they're a blessing and a curse, right?
Right.
But right now, insurance companies in the state are the only damn ones that have catastrophic modeling. Risk. They figure out what your home's risk is, and they don't share that risk information with you. And there's 3 major firms in North America that have this catastrophic modeling, and they won't share it with any government because they have a lock on the market. They promise insurance companies they won't share it. So guess what California's done? We're developing our own risk management software that will be open forum. So we passed the bill last year, signed by the governor. It's being developed at Cal Poly Humboldt. This has been a baby of ours. And here within 24 months, you're going to be able to log on, be able to determine what your home risk score is and what you can do to be able to reduce the risk around your house. Now, that's great, but insurance probably still won't write. Okay, well, here's what I believe. It's time for a mandate, right? So, here's what we need to do. Governor signed one, vetoed the other. We're coming back this year with the other. He signed the risk modeling bill so that all of us will be able to see what our risk is. He vetoed the home hardening commission bill. So to be able to mandate insurance companies have to write, you have to develop home hardening standards in law. We have some that are squishy, but nothing really in statute. So what we're going to do is we're bringing it back. We heard what the governor said. This home hardening commission has fire chiefs, fire marshals. It has a representative from the insurance companies. It has 3 members of the public. It has a mayor on there, member of the board of supervisors. They will develop the home hardening standards. If a community develops the home hardening standards and then mandate, insurance companies have to write. So it's about transparency. You see what your risk score is. We develop the home hardening standards and put them into law. Insurance companies have to write. And again, I'm just going to be candid. Democrats have to grow a spine, right? We know what needs to be done, and sometimes tell them what they need to do. And by the way, California has the most lucrative automobile insurance market in the United States of America. So let's use our leverage on them because they're using their leverage on us. Am I right? And so that's what we need to do. The last piece in that 4th prong is we have to get better at wildfire suppression and mitigation. So So that brings us to the last item. $8 billion is being spent. As we talked about, $3 billion over the last 3 years, another $4 billion here starting this year and moving forward on wildfire mitigation, Med-9 tree removal, home hardening, fire breaks around communities, around neighborhoods, and we have to get more boots on the ground. That's why we doubled CAL FIRE firefighters. But in counties like Coolness, or counties in like Sierra, or portions of Tehama, they rely on the Forest Service. We are hosed. So that's why we have to beef up the Forest Service budget. I'm sorry, I don't mean to nerd out. I really don't need to give a long answer. I'm not trying to filibuster. We're good, we're good. But I want to see, please, I think that's where we need to go. We got to get folks back on with their traditional insurance. And that's where Department of Insurance comes in. But we also have to have the law get back home. So I want to give you the last day. And then, how long have you been, are you on the FAIR plan?
No, but I have friends and neighbors that lost their insurance, so I feel like it's coming our way anytime now. But yeah, thank you for your answer.
And I think the federal government is going to ultimately need to figure out, are they going to do like a federal fire program like we do with flood, right? That may need to be something that needs to be advanced, I'll be honest. I'm going to go right over here, and yes, ma'am, we'll come right to you. Please, sir. Thank you for the question.
What are your thoughts about restoring funding for veteran restoration, both facilities and services?
The Veterans Administration? Oh my gosh, it's a no-brainer.
I think so.
Yes, look, it makes me so angry. My uncle was a paratrooper. My grandfather fought in World War II. Both had VA health care. The cuts that we've seen to the Veterans Administration and VA health care, it's unacceptable. And again, we have a way to pay for it. But we have to do away with the $2.2 trillion worth of cuts to millionaires and millionaires. It has to go. Our priority should be working families, should be veterans and seniors. And again, if we have a progressive tax policy, we can pay for it. But we'll wholeheartedly support restoration of cuts. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go right behind, right here, and I'm going to come right back to you, sir. Yes, ma'am, right in the blue.
Go back to the insurance question.
Yes, please.
To develop mandates, how would you enforce those mandates?
I mean, it's law of the land. So Department of Insurance has administrative law judges that can bring these insurance companies in to be able to enforce law, or we go to the Department of Justice and Rob Bonta and our Attorney General and take them to court.
But if you have home hardening mandates, how do you get the homeowners to follow the mandates?
Two ways.
You're going to have to get the whole community on board.
You're absolutely right.
Fire mitigation.
100%. Yeah, no, it's true. So the bulk of the state dollars that are coming out are for like vegetation management and clearance. We only have, it's $150 or $200 million. It's one of the two, and I'm sorry, I don't have it top of my head, and I apologize. But let's just say it's $150 million for now. I will tell you though, in Kelseyville, Riviera, it's right above Clear Lake. Dozens of homes have been hardened. The entire community has been hardened. State grant dollars have come through. We work with them to get them. Insurance companies won't write. Yep. But we've removed all the dead dying trees. We've done dispensable space around homes. We've
Now we're done with grant dollars?
grant dollars, yep. But I'll be honest, ma'am, we need a bigger program. That's what I'm talking about with the Forest Service budget. Look, we keep talking about the state. We are the wealthiest state in the nation. We give $80 billion more back from the federal government than we receive. But I gotta be candid. The federal government has to step up. We put $1 billion into the United States Forest Service BLM land on helping make it more fire resistant and hardened. The federal government has to step up. This does not work. They have to improve fire roads. They have to focus on fire mitigation. They have to focus on emergency routes. They're not spending the money. And so it's going to take some federal action, and that's why I firmly believe we need reform and modernization of the Forest Service. But ma'am, you are spot on, and I appreciate what you just said, is the average home is gonna be anywhere between 20 and probably 35,000 to do a full hardening. And the average homeowner can't afford it. And a lot of folks are already fixed incomes, right? So, we do need to come up with that formula. At least a matching grant program. I appreciate you bringing that forward. Thank you. Sir, I'm gonna come right over to you. Thank you. How you doing, sir?
Yeah. Hope you don't mind if I walk up.
No, you're good, you're good. Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm Mike Blair.
Hey, good name.
I've been a builder for decades.
Yes, sir.
And my concern is that we cannot continue to build houses. This is what the rest of the world does, and we do it for the same reasons. Yeah, okay. It's been kind of a passion of mine for many years. I've built hundreds of houses in the meantime, with all different, I guess, things that are also built with metal and wood and other materials. But it's time that we just stop chopping down our trees. That's about 6% of our trees remain in their original status. And this has to change. And I've been working for it for, as I mentioned, for over 40 years. And I don't want to kind of take too much time, but you have a card I'd like to.
Yes, I'm gonna get, Mercedes is gonna give you a card, absolutely. I thought you were gonna get cash. I was like, oh, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. All right, go, hot deal. No, absolutely. So look, I hear you. We need to absolutely harden homes. I think getting back, ma'am, I want to get your name, and I'm sorry, I don't need to say your name.
Me?
Yes,
Nan Taylor.
Ann?
Nan.
Nan, I'm sorry. Just like what Nan was saying in regards to the expense of hardening homes, and you would know better than I, but if we're looking at like a hardened home that's cement or cinder block, that is going to add to the cost of the home, correct? And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have in regards to lumber. I hear you loud and clear, and we need to start thinking about what type of grants could be available, especially for high fire threat communities, from both the federal and the state governments. And look, I'm going to get back to what my grandma taught me. You work together to make progress together. One entity can't do it alone, right? State can't do it alone without the federal government. The federal government can't do it without California. We're the biggest donor state, right? We're the largest economy in the United States of America by far. By the way, Texas takes $71 billion more every year in federal funding than they give. Just a nice statistic for you next time you're at the Thanksgiving table. So I think that's the piece that we need to focus on is how we can get additional grant dollars, like Leanne was just talking about, for that, because I hear you loud and clear in regards to the issue. No, absolutely. We're going to go two more. Yes, please.
I just want you to clarify again, you said Forest Service needs to be separated in terms of its focus. What were the two elements again? One was wildfire, and I presume that's fighting fire.
Yeah, and so
The other?
it would be everything else. It's the management, right? It's the management of the land. So just like what we've done in CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE is a much smaller agency than the United States Forest Service, but here's where I think we need to go. The United States Forest Service combined budget continues to be eaten up year after year after year on fire suppression. That means everything else is being starved within the Forest Service. It is time to modernize the Forest Service. You put your firefighting team into one budget. That firefighting team, by the way, the United States Forest Service firefighters are among the lowest paid in the United States of America. So we have to increase their pay, number one. That means that we'll get additional recruits. Number two, in the United States Forest Service firefighting budget, we also need to have a fire prevention, fire mitigation, dead and dying tree removal, brush removal, thinning, exactly. That's where we need to be able to go. And we all know that's more than a full-time job just throughout the west of the Rockies, huge challenges. There are two states right now that burn more per capita than California, Idaho and Alaska. There are not enough federal firefighters in the West to be able to tackle what's happening in California every year on federal land. Full stop. If it wasn't for CAL FIRE, we would be super hosed. So, yeah, that's no pun intended. So we have to modernize it, and we have to put our money where our mouth is. It is burning up our local economies and our homes and our neighborhoods. We have to look upstream and start money. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to go last question right here, sir.
So I'm really,
Thank you.
can I do one more?
All right, go right ahead,
It's a
sir.
little bit different. So I'm really concerned about the corruption in the Democratic Party, about the PAC, Political Action Committee. I understand you take money from PAC. I understand that the California PAC, the California Association of Realtors, regularly donates around $20,000 a year.
Sir, that is absolute bullshit. I just want to be candid. First of all, you come up and tell me that Jewish Americans are the largest donor. To go to
That was from Jerusalem Post.
the largest donor in American politics, sir, the largest donor are corporate PACs. That's the largest donor.
Do you take money from corporate PAC?
Not in this federal campaign. I haven't taken one dime.
Previously.
The state dollars are different, sir.
Yeah, state, I know, but
Yeah.
if you take money, how do you take money from the California Association of Realtors?
You can't take $20,000 a year, sir. That's illegal.
PAC, from PAC.
You can't take, you said that I took $20,000 a year. You can't do that, sir.
How do you take money from health insurance companies, from their PACs?
I have not in this federal race. I have not.
Not in this race, previous races, but you've taken money from these health insurance lobbying groups, these special interests, and then you're like, oh, healthcare cool. That's not what they want. How do you balance taking
Let me tell you how you balance, sir, because here's the bottom line. As Senate leader, first rule Democrat, I've had to raise millions of dollars to be able to get Democrats elected. So let me just be really blunt about it. There are about 12 Democrats in the House and the Senate that are able to fundraise just on small dollars. 12. 12. So in my time as Senate leader and as Senate Majority Leader, we've elected more LGBTQ members in the California State Senate than any other time in our state's history. Number two, we've elected more Latino members than any other time in our state's history to the California State Senate. Three, we're the first state house in the West to have parity with women and men. And you know how that happened? Fundraising. And you are right, sir. I've had to fundraise. Here's what happens when you're in leadership. You have to get Democrats elected. You have to pass progressive policy, and you have to pass a budget. For the first time in the history in the Central Valley, we have two Latinas representing Democrats. Two Democratic Latinas. It has always been held by a white male. Always. In a Latino seat. You know how we did it? We spent $7 million to get Melissa Hurtado elected. $7 million. We flipped that seat red to blue. We flipped the Fresno seat and the Bakersfield seat red to blue. I am proud of the dollars that we have raised to get Democrats elected. That's what Democratic leaders have done. You know how much it cost to pass Prop 50? Over $100 million. $100 million. And you know who had to raise it? Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Robert Rivas, Speaker of the Assembly, and myself, Leader of the Senate. And guess what? We're going to help save democracy. And until we repeal Citizens United, until we get a new Supreme Court to put term limits on it, and until we actually have public financing of campaigns, are you going to let Donald Trump just ride roughshod all over us? Donald Trump is going to raise $3 billion this year. $3 billion with a B. He has $1.5 billion in his account right now.
From electric cars.
Y'all, it is time to fight back. And we have to do it. And that means, as Senate leader, sir, you're absolutely right. I've raised money to get Democrats elected, record number of women, record number of LGBTQ plus members, record number of Latinos, and I'm proud of that record. I will always fight for Democrats. I'll always fundraise for Democrats. And when Democrats work for working people, we win. And that's why the nurses support me, California Nurses Association. That's why out of all 30 labor interviews that we've had in this race, all 30 labor organizations are supporting our campaign. All 30. Nurses, healthcare workers, electricians, firefighters. I can keep going down because they know I will stand by them and fight for them. I want to end it right here with this. I'd be honored to work with you. I'd be honored to work with you. Here is my email, votemikemcguire.com, our website, votemikemcguire.com. You can also email me, mike@votemikemcguire.com. Call me anytime, 707-838-3279, 707-838-3279. I'd be grateful to work with you. We are going to win this thing, and I am so appreciative that you are here tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'm going to be hanging around to be able to talk to you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.